I've published a video game. Today is the release date of Quackley on Steam. It's out now. I didn't make it, but I did have the privilege of publishing it. But how did that happen? Well, let's talk game design. Like I said, the game is out now. It's amazing. Fast-paced, perfectly matches the retro aesthetic of the ZX Spectrum without having to wait 19 years for a cassette tape to load. Dedicated speedrun mode, lots of levels, go and buy it. That's it really, that's the video. And if you want to stop there, I understand, especially if you then go and buy the game. But for the rest of you, it's... How did I come to publish a game that I didn't make? For that, I need to reintroduce you to Jay. Jay made Quackley, and Jay is also a long-time friend of mine. We first connected over Twitter, where we were both shrieking into the void about other people being wrong about things like classic Sonic and arcade game design. From there, we just stuck around, patting each other on the back for being the only correct people in a sea of wrongness, as is Twitter's way. Around this time, however many years ago, I noticed that Jay made games. Quite a lot of games. And these games were good. I mean really good. Tight, focused arcade games with a razor-like scope and aesthetics that spoke to my old brain on a deep and nostalgic level. I noticed early on that the problem Jay was having wasn't the quality of the games, but one that I'm sure a lot of indie developers can probably relate to: visibility. I remember pledging at the time that if I ever got the opportunity, I would drag Jay's games out into the sun and show them to the world. Fast forward however many years to now, the minor success of Let's Talk Game Design, and my decision to build a game specifically to release on Steam. That game is, of course, Reiterate, which you should go and wishlist while you're busy buying Quackley. Reiterate's success and continued development prompted Jay to want to make something similar, but smaller, more focused and more efficient in its development cycle, which is in keeping with the way that Jay had made his previous games, which I'd already acknowledged were amazing. Thus, Quackley was born. And since Reiterate's whole purpose was to release on Steam, just for the sake of saying I'd released a game on Steam, I jokingly said that when it was finished, I would publish it on Jay's behalf. As it turns out, this was not a joke. I'm sure they won't mind me saying this, but Jay doesn't do well with what I would call official admin. Stuff like forms and applications and administrative gubbins that are an intrinsic part of the publishing process. I, on the other hand, had just done all that to set up Reiterate's Steam page, so I was pretty familiar with it. And so, one hastily written contract later, it was all agreed. I would publish Quackley on Jay's behalf, handle all the administrative stuff, arrange some revenue reports every month, and even do a little bit of marketing. And now, here we are. The day we've all been nervously waiting for when Quackley is out there in the wild, and hopefully, everything's working properly. It might not be, if I'm honest. There was one point during pre-release where I deleted absolutely everything, so that went well. So is that it? Well, no. Because when you go to Quackley's Steam page, you'll notice the publisher isn't listed as Zane from Let's Talk Game Design, it's Black Country Games. So what's that all about? I figured if I was going to be a publisher, which apparently I am now, I should probably set up an official company for it. There's a bunch of legal reasons for this, mostly to do with not going personally bankrupt if everything goes horribly wrong, but also I think it adds a certain level of legitimacy to what I'm trying to do. And because we're in Storytime, I'd like to tell you about the name. You might not have noticed this, but I'm British. Shocker, I know. In Britain, specifically in an area known as the West Midlands, we have a smaller area known locally as the Black Country. It got its name from the colour of the sky, which was often blacked over in the daytime with smoke from a lot of mines and factories, as it used to be an incredibly industrially driven part of the country. Supposedly, J.R.R. Tolkien once visited the Black Country, and as a result took inspiration for the mines of Moria in the Lord of the Rings series, which effectively means that yes, I am in fact a dwarf, and I am in fact digging a hole. But the name of the company isn't about local pride, it's about pride in my family. I don't have a photo, but I'm going to talk about my granddad. This is not my granddad, this is Victor Meldrew, but the effect is basically the same. My granddad has had about 3 billion jobs over the years, from running a market stall to driving most things that have wheels. Buses, coaches, taxis, massive lorries. And one of those jobs was running his own business, Black Country Snacks, which provided addictive foodstuffs to pubs, clubs and bars. Now, at the risk of sounding like a real human being with actual emotions, oh no, my granddad means a lot to me. He's taught me about what it means to be productive, to look out for yourself and for other people, and how to just be a good and right man. He's the one who taught me that if something seems too good to be true, then it probably is. There's a certain irony to the fact that years later I've often had to point out to him that no, he clearly hasn't won £4.6 million from a lottery he didn't enter, no matter what's written in the sketchy email. So it just seemed obvious to me that when I finally made a move to set up something official for myself, I wanted to name it in a way that would always remind me where I came from. Even if Black Country Games somehow becomes the biggest publisher in video games of all time, and this time next year I'm giving a talk on stage in Los Angeles at E3, I'll never forget where I came from. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Black Country Games. Plus, you know, my surname is Black and black is the coolest colour that there is. Thank you for indulging me. It's a bit of a personal story and I'm glad I can share it with you. And I'm even more glad, or gladder, or more gladder, or whatever, that I can play some part in bringing Quackley to you as well. Go and buy it. I really do think it's amazing and it's a pleasure for me to play and sell. And that's it really. That's the story of Black Country Games and the story of Quackley. And now I'm incredibly excited to invite you to be a part of that story as well. You can tell I'm a publisher because I've started talking like a corporate executive. If you like this video, then be sure to like the video you just liked so we know you liked it. Then subscribe for more videos like the one you liked since you liked it. And I'll see you the next time I'm thinking, hey, let's talk game design.